Okay. Touch my hat. Touch my hat. Touch my hat. Get your hand off me. Get your hand off me. I'm not a tourist, bitch. I'm from New York. Google me. What's good? What's good? What's good? Get out. Hey, bitch, tear it up. Tear this up. Tear this up. Get off of it. Bitch, you're on the wrong side, bitch. I'm not a tourist, bitch. I'm from New York. What's good? What's good? What's good?
Violent communist agitators.
Okay. You're picking this up. So
I'm going to bring you to
this.
We're going to go to the other side. I'm bringing you to the other side.
Language.
I'm bringing you to the other side. You're being unreasonable. You're being very unreasonable. Come with me.
All right, Shalom. This is Hara One, Ban Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Harakar Kodash, Ma'amaf. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Shalom to you, Akim, Nakwatim, and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. This is an article from the Palm Beach coast, and it's dealing with, I'll read the title. It says, Poll, Trump indictment has divided the U.S. The Trump indictment has divides the U.S. All right, and gives boost over DeSantis ahead of New York arraignment. Now let's read a couple. It says, as with all things, Donald Trump last week's grand jury indictment has divided the country, but it's given him a decided edge over fellow Floridian and looming rival governor Ron DeSantis, according to political or public opinion survey. So basically, this whole recent Trump indictment has divided the country, you know, even more than it already was divided. So now, let me read a little bit more. It says, yes, the country is obviously divided, said Biner, faculty director of the Public Opinion Research Lab at the University of North Florida. The parts that are interesting are what are the Republicans doing and are they feeling? Because that's where there is going to be a Republican primary. All right, this article here is from Fox News. It says protesters get physical outside of the New York City courthouse before the Trump arraignment. Confrontation at Manhattan Criminal Court, where former President Trump is to be arraigned, was to be arraigned Tuesday. It says, now, a woman wearing a Make America Great Again hat fell to the ground. She fell to the ground after trampling an anti-Trump flag. So it sounds like civil war, right? So the two sides fighting against each other. This is the elites, the globalists, you know, Edomites. This is their way of pushing order ab chaos, which means order out of chaos. They create the chaos and they try to bring order from it through either martial law or through ultimately what they're doing now is pushing for this new digital system that they're not talking about on the news. All you hear about is Trump, DeSantis, and all that. But the real goal that the hidden hand is doing, they're pushing for this digital currency. All right, so the nation is divided, which is setting the stage for civil unrest. All right, and now so it's setting the stage for civil unrest through the division in the politics. All right, you got so much division in America, so many so-called protected groups, so many militias that's being started. But ultimately, the Democrats and the Republicans, that's prophecy. In the time of this split, this is the time where they're going to be pushing for that digital currency, according to Revelation 13. All right, so according to photos of the chaotic scene, see, order out of chaos. Chaotic scene, man, that's what they want. They want chaos here in America. You know, when the dollar crashes, they want the chaos to happen so they can bring in martial law, allegedly, you know. But according to prophecy, we know this is what's going to happen eventually. As far as any, you know, them trusting in Egypt and dealing with the the medical experiment they just did, people waking up to that, that's going to bring more civil unrest. And then you have the food crisis that's going to go on. All right, so and the dollar's losing value because you got nations like China, Russia, Brazil, Malaysia now. All these nations are not using the dollar. They're dumping the dollars as a reserve currency, as, you know, for trade. So that's gonna leave America, you know, stuck with what's called hyperinflation, which is called the dollar having no value. So what is that going to cause? More chaos in the streets when people can't get their money out of the banks. So this is what they want. It says, according to photos of the chaotic scene, the Trump supporter ran across and grabbed a large banner with the words "Trump lies all the time" written on it. She then fell on the ground and laid on the flag before she was confronted by protesters wearing shirts calling for the arrest of former President Trump. The scuffles between Trump supporters and protesters came ahead of Trump's highly anticipated arrival to the court for an arraignment hearing scheduled for Tuesday afternoon. Now, while all this is going on, you have Malaysia and other countries like Brazil making deals with China and with Russia, and nations like Africa. They've all agreed to not use the dollar anymore. But they're not talking about that. This is Revelations 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And this was the establishment of America. All right. And he had two horns like a lamb, and spake as a dragon. So the two sides represent Democrats and Republicans. Yeah, all right. So this lets you know it's talking about America as that beast that came up according to Daniel 7, the little horn. Now it says, it spake as a dragon, so America pushes all the draconian measures of the Roman Empire or Europe, you know, the European Union, or the global elites. So America is speaking just like the like a revised Roman Empire. All right. So and he exercised of all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And that's what they're pushing for America, for all the world and American citizens to submit to the European powers, man. You know, Edomites. All right, so they're switching over to what? Digital system, which America has the world reserve currency. So once they pull the plug, what they call pulling the rug from under everybody's feet, man. All right, so so now, and we know the rest of the scripture says what he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive the mark, which is in their right hand and on their forehead. So, in the same time of the divisions and the theater of the Democrats going against the Republicans, they can use that chaos and that split in America to move their plans in secret. So people don't know about it. They get caught off guard. They won't go snatch their money out the banks. You know, we'll just wake up one day and no one will be able to get their money out the banks. See, they're not talking about that. But the chaos they want is more political. They're focusing on Trump. And the Democrats, they're not even focusing on Biden, as you can see. In the media, they're focusing on Trump, and they're focusing on the split between the Democrats and the Republicans. They pushing that narrative out before the elections. So all hell could break loose. There'd be two opposing sides that aim to fight and hurt each other instead of just vote. Second Ezra 15 and 14, because remember that they have a depopulation plan, and and you also can't forget they was talking about a possible cyber attack. All right, so everything is on the table right now. The table is set, and they're ready to eat. But the Lord said, what? Before they swallow down the food or it touches their belly, meaning before they once they push martial law, or before they get their new world order, the Lord's going to rain fire upon them. All right, in America, this place, Babylon's going to be destroyed. Second Ezra 15 and 14. So these two opposing sides, Democrats and Republicans, that's all vanity, because it's going to be destroyed anyway. It's a distraction. Woe to the world. See, woe to the whole world, not just America. It's going to be a world war and tragedy all over the earth. But America has the ultimate judgment. The Lord said he has a sacrifice in Basra. All right, and Idumea, that's America. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. So the sword is coming and the destruction is coming. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, man. So it's gonna get to that level. Just like here in America, Florida, I think Alabama, other states, they made it legal for anybody to get a firearm. It's gonna be like the old Wild Wild West again. All right, so that goes into two opposing sides, or a few opposing sides, because this place is like completely divided now, man. America, not just Democrats, Republicans, but by the so-called protected groups. What I mean is like the anti-Semitism. Then they have the letter groups, you know. Then you have militias that are being established. All right, so all of these are going to surface in the midst of this whole election process. You got the MAGA supporters. So this place is divided, man. So at some point, people are going to stand up on opposing sides with swords in their hand. You know, now what'll make them do that is not being able to get their money. For there shall be, or if they, somebody get too extremist or a radical, and they ready to give their life for Trump. For there shall be sedition among men. All right, so, and we're seeing the sedition, but it's gonna get worse. The sedition among men. Let's get that real quick. Sedition. All right, the sedition.
Sedition.
It says conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or a monarch, man. So people, so somebody's gonna corral, and it could be Trump, you never know, but somebody's gonna push and corral these people into fighting back against the government at some point. All right, so they're gonna rebel against the authority or a state monarch, and the state monarch today would be Biden or against Trump. They try to say Trump is still the president. See, the two horns, man, Democrats and Republicans. Yeah, I knew they were gonna use those two political sides in the midst of the dollar crash or the midst of the switching to the digital currency. I knew they were going to use the whole Democrat-Republican thing just from reading Revelation 13. All right, 2nd Ezra 15, it says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. All right, all these nations are going to be invading each other. The opposing sides are going to be invading each other. Right here within the land. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, so they're going to be worrying about their governors, no mayors. They're not going to be worrying about the presidents. The course of their actions shall stand in their power. So they're not going to be they're going to be soldiers, that might go AWOL and do something radical. They got homegrown terrorism that they're pushing for. All right, so and the course of their actions shall stand in their own power, man. That's what's that they call it, the people against the private. All right, so what they call the public. So the people are gonna take the power back to themselves, and then you may have soldiers that may do something without orders from the military. All right, it says here, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to, man. So that's martial law. That's what's going to come out of all of this, martial law, and that's ultimately what they want. But according to the Constitution, they're not supposed to have American soldiers going door to door on or fighting against citizens on the soil. But if there's sedition and all hell breaking loose, they can militarize the National Guard, which Trump has already done when he was in office. And then they also have Gurga troops, foreign troops, and then ultimately the American military that's here on the soil. They're gonna find a way to twist that Constitution. All right, I think it's what the Second Amendment or the Third Amendment, one of the two. So now it says here, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, with the gun, with the knives, and spoil their goods. So they're going to take food from each other because there's not going to be any money. There's not going to be any groceries to get. So people are going to start invading each other because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, man, for all the hell they're going to be going through. All right, so it's the, there we go. It's the Third Amendment. All right, I typed in which amendment says no military. and it's the Third Amendment. All right, Amendment 3 of the Constitution. That's the only thing standing in the elites, Illuminati's way, the globalists, is the Constitution. It gives everybody rights to bear arms, and also gives them rights to establish militias. All right, and to vote the presidents out of office, and mayors and judges and sheriffs. All right, so in the Third Amendment is this. It says, to the United States Constitution places restrictions on the quartering, the placement and or sheltering of soldiers in private homes without the owner's consent, forbidding the practice in peacetime. Right, so the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, all right? So, but they can, all they need is a tragic incident or sedition, chaos in the streets, and they can call in martial law. All right. So let's get this is Mark 3:23. There's the words of Yahushua. And he called them unto him and said unto them in parables. So this is a parable. How can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. All right, so we clearly see that this kingdom, America, is divided against itself. All right, it's divided on a world scales. These nations are divided, and ultimately on the soils of America, America is divided into many opposing sides at this time, especially the Democrats and Republicans. So, and if a house, it says what? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. So Esau's kingdom is divided. All right, America is a kingdom. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. What do they call this? The house of the thief. All right. And if Satan rise up against himself, so the adversary, that's what they are, a bunch of Satanists on both sides. But the word Satan goes into what? Adversary. So they're all adversaries, contenders against the truth, against righteousness, against Yahweh. So so if the Lord's adversaries are rise up against themselves and be divided, it says what? He cannot stand, but hath an end. So you know they have an end coming. It's impossible for this place to continue as long as there's so many opposing sides and they're all on the forefront. They're all ready to go into chaos and fight against each other. So this place is done. You know, economic collapse. Dollar crash brings economic crash. And within that, you're going to have riots. You're going to have sedition. All right. So the same thing with the president. Now they got their minds gripped by having Trump be indicted by the New York City DA. And now you got protesters on both sides fighting over the two. This is crazy, man. All right, so this place cannot stand, but what? It has an end to it because it's divided. And the Lord is the one that has brought about this division in this place. He promised us he would do it. All right, so I'm going to end and say shalom.